We've gathered 10 of the top string trimmers in the industry, from Milwaukee, DeWalt, Makita, Ego, Stihl, Ryobi, Husqvarna, Echo, Skil, and Toro. What we're going to do is change out the string and the trimmer head on this DeWalt 60-volt trimmer. Orientate the head so we can work on it. As you can see, we have the DeWalt head here. The way this works is it is a bump feed, so as you bump this, the string extends like so. But what we're going to do is we want to change the string on this for some testing purposes so that we're using the same string on all of our trimmers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the cover off, which is done by just simply pushing in on these tabs that are on the sides of the trimmer head. I'm going to take out the spool. We can turn this quickly so that we can remove this string. This takes a little bit of work, but it's all right. Get in the right position, we can zing it off pretty quickly here. It does hold quite a bit of string. And we are nearing the end here. So what we have is, now, once we got to the end of our spool, we can pull out our string and we're going to discard this string. This is the factory string, and we're going to go ahead and put on new string. So what we're going to do is go ahead and reassemble the head. We're going to want to make sure that these tabs are properly lined up with where they engage into the head, and that when we put this on, that they fully click in place. And what we're looking for is this tab and this tab to be fully engaged in place. The next thing we do is we're going to rotate the head. As you can see, there's a white line right here and also a white line right here. We're going to rotate the head until those match. What that allows us to do is pass our pre-cut 12-foot long piece of trim string through the head like so, and we're going to make sure that we have it even on each side. So now that we have it even, we can go ahead and begin to pull in our string. And we're just going to do this. Rotate this top side, hold this side steady, and what it's doing is pulling that string into that stringer head. And there you go. Now it's fully loaded and ready to go. Now the lengths are slightly different, but there is a little cutter blade that's built into the guard that will allow you to cut these to the same length. And as you use this, you'll be able to bump it and extend the trim string as you need it. So there's the DeWalt loaded and ready to go begin trimming your yard. So what I have here is the Echo 56-volt string trimmer. And what we're gonna do is change out the string that's in here to a test string that I'm going to use for our testing. It's a round 095 test string, and we're going to go ahead and change this out and put this new string in. So let's take this apart. First thing we're going to do is verify operation. So this is a bump head, so you're going to go ahead and bump it, and when we bump the head, we should be able to extend it, which we can. So as we bump this, we can pull the string out. Now we want to get the string taken completely out. We're not going to do bump mode. We're going to actually pop this apart. So there's little tabs on the side of the head that we can push in like this and pop this off, which will now expose the spool up inside. And with that opened up, we can easily pull out our old string. And now we can pull this out. So now we can go ahead, discard this old string and put in our new string. I've pre-cut this string to 12-foot lengths. That way we have a common amount amongst all of the tools. Now there is different string capacities for each one of these trimmers, but 12-foot seems to fit pretty universally in all of them. But before I put the new string in, we want to put this back together. Now, same thing. We're going to want to make sure that we line up the tabs properly in the head and that everything's all clicked together before we start loading string. We're going to put this in here, push that on, make sure again that these tabs seat completely in, and make sure that it's all lined up. Now the same on this trimmer, we have an arrow on the top side, and we line that up with one of the holes where the trimmer string exits the head. So once we have that lined up, what we do is take our string, feed it through and straight out. And that's exactly what we want. We want the string to come in one side and out the other. And we're going to go ahead and make this even so that when we wind it in, we end with a similar amount of string on each side of the spool, and there we go. So now what we're gonna do is, now that we have the string centered inside of the spool, we're gonna go ahead, hold the top section stationary, and rotate the bottom. Now, if you're wondering about rotating it, you can only rotate the bottom in one direction. So you don't have to worry about doing it the wrong direction. There's no way to do it. So just holding this top steady, again, we rotate this, pulling the string in. There we go. What I like to do to make sure that we have everything working properly is I like to bump this in and see if it extends it, and it does. So now we know our Echo string trimmer is ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and load string on this Ego, and this trimmer is a little bit different than some of the other ones maybe you've seen or used. This one has what they call Line IQ, which automatically feeds the string out as you use it, and also it has power load. Power load is this feature built in here that will actually pull the string in. I don't have to do anything other than put it in there and have it loaded. But we gotta unload first. So let's take this apart and get the old string out. Like we always do, we're gonna pop the top off so we can get access to the spool inside. And in order to do that, there's these tabs on the sides that allow me to remove the cover like this, exposing my spool on the inside. So here's a spool where your string is strung on here. And now I can actually go ahead and just actually pull it off just like this. And there we go. So now we can discard our old string so we can put on our new string. So now that I have my new string, this is cut to a 12-foot length. It's an 095 round string. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the cover. I wanna make sure that I line up, again, your tabs, your locking tabs. You wanna make sure you line up these locking tabs properly. Make sure it snaps and clicks in place. And what we're looking for is an engagement of this tab here on this side and the tab here on this side to make sure that that is locked down and won't fly off. So we're gonna take our new string, we're gonna fish it through the hole on this side, and if we've done everything right, it should pop out the hole on the other side, just like this. Now, what we're gonna do is make sure that we put the string even in here, it winds evenly on the spool, and we're gonna hit the button that's on the top, which is your power load button. So this is unique amongst string trimmers, that this one will automatically pull the line in. And there you have it. So that line was automatically pulled in by simply just holding down on this power load button that's located on the top here, and line is loaded in, ready to go. This is not a bump feed head. This is a head that automatically feeds line out as you use the trimmer. So now the Ego is ready to go. I have here the Husqvarna 525 ILK. It's a new trimmer from Husqvarna, and we're gonna go ahead and swap out the factory string for some other string that we're gonna use in our testing. So this is a bump feed head. So again, you would, as you use this trimmer, you would bump the tip up here and it extends the string out like this. Every time you bump that, you'll get a feeding of some string, and that's how you extend the string. But what we're gonna wanna do right now is actually take out this string. So let's go ahead, take the cover off, see what we have inside. And that's done simply by pushing in these two tabs on either side of the trimmer head. Push one side in, push the other side in. You should be able to remove this, just like that. And this one comes with where the spool comes out, and this allows us to remove the string pretty simply. There we go. So we'll discard that string. All right, so now that we have an empty spool, what we're gonna do is take our new string. I've already found the center point of it. We're gonna use a small spot that's in the spool to catch the string. And we're gonna turn it and turn it. And if you notice, there's a divider in the center that keeps the two halves separated. We're gonna wind this on like this, and this will hold much more than the 12 feet that I cut off to put in here. But what we wanna do is make sure we keep the two sides divided as we wind the string on. And then when we get the spool nearly full, what we're gonna do is come back to the top side, and we're gonna catch in this little spot right here, a little hole, and then there's one on this side as well. And that locks that string in place so that it can't come flying off of the spool. Next, we're gonna take that, set that inside of our head like this, And then one by one, we're gonna pop this string into this channel and pop our string into this channel, keeping it all together and keeping your fingers on here to hold it so it doesn't come undone. We're gonna take the whole head and slip it back on top of, line it up, on top of our stringer head and click it in position. And we're gonna make sure that our head engages in these two positions on either side. Now our head is loaded and ready to go. So what we're gonna do now is test it to make sure that it extends. Let's see. Yep, which it does. And now our Husqvarna string trimmer is ready to trim. This string trimmer is the Makita XGT 40 volt. What we're gonna do is swap out the factory load of string for some new string so it matches the rest of the tools that we're gonna be testing today. We're gonna go ahead and disassemble this partially. So we're gonna pop apart, and see there's a tab here on this side. Push this in. And there's a tab on this side. There it goes. Sometimes there's a little bit of tension on these, so pop this off. That allows us to remove the cover and the spool. So we have the spool here, comes out as a separate piece. I'm gonna go ahead and unwind factory load and toss that aside. What I have here is some pre-cut lengths, the 12-foot long lengths of 095 round trimmer string. This is actually a manual wind head. So what we're gonna have to do on this, there's a hole right here in the center of this spool. I'm gonna feed the line through and pull this out. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that we have equal lengths of line coming out either side of the head. And then there's a nice note on here that actually says wind line this direction, this direction. So as we look at that, we're gonna put our line on. We can start winding it together. And we wanna make sure that as we wind the line, that it stays separated on either side of the separator here, that it doesn't cross over. So we're gonna wind our line on. And we get to a point where it looks like we have enough wound up. We're gonna go ahead and click that into one side, bring this side around, click this one into place here like that. What that does is it holds our line in place while we're working and fitting it back into the rest of the housing. So we're gonna put this in here like this. Gonna line our spool up. We're gonna put our line in the groove of where the metal insert is here. What that does is allows me to make sure that when I go to put this on here and click it in place, put that on here, take our cover, and we can press it all back together, and now we're ready to go. Now when we push this in, yep, we get an advance of line, so we know that we've done it right. Yeah, the line's a little long, but we'll go ahead and trim that off later when we go to begin using this. There's a cutter built into the guard here that will trim the line at the proper length. And now that we have the line loaded on this, we're ready to go. Here's the dual battery M18 fuel string trimmer from Milwaukee. We're gonna swap out the line that's in it to some new line so that we can do some testing today. First thing we do is we verify our head here. Looks like we have a easy load head. So gonna go ahead and press the tabs in on the sides here. We have a tab on this side, also a tab on this side. I'm gonna press those, pop this cover off, and it gives us access to the spool. So now it's easy to remove the line. We can just pull this out of here. Pull that out and throw it out of the way. So what we have are some pre-cut lengths of 12-foot line. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put the head back together and make sure that it fully engages, fully locks in place, make sure these tabs pop out properly, and our head is now in place. When we have it properly aligned, what it does is it creates a passageway through the spool to the other side so that we can get the line to feed through. And so when we line up where it says load here to the align on the top here, what that's gonna do, again, let me find the center, which we are at. I should be able to feed this through and should pop out the other side. And that's exactly what you want. You want to have the line pop out the other side. We're going to go ahead and pull this until we get to our center point. And then once we get there, we're just going to go ahead and twist this top section. We can hold the bottom steady, twist this top like this. And our line is installed. Just to make sure it's feeding properly, I'm going to go ahead and use the bump function. Bump it once, pull out, and there it does. It feeds our line. So we know that we have the line properly fed into this Milwaukee string trimmer. Now we're ready to go trim. I have here the Ridgid 18-volt string trimmer. It's kind of a basic, smaller size string trimmer, very lightweight actually. And what we're gonna do is swap out the string that came from the factory for some other string that we're gonna use for some testing purposes. It's an 095 round trimmer string. And what we're gonna do is disassemble this first. There is a lock button and an arrow, and then there's an unlock position. So we're gonna unlock this spool, which allows us to take this apart. Once we take this apart, what we're gonna do is go ahead and pull the string off of the spool. Once we get there, we can pull it apart, take our old string. So now that I've removed the old string, I can see that I have these various parts. One good thing is they only fit together one way, so you don't have to worry about doing it incorrectly when you reassemble. As you can see here, there's a groove here that matches with the groove inside of this bump head. It only fits in one position. Once I insert this inside of the trimmer head here, this only fits back on here in one position to lock it back in place. So what we're gonna do now, reassemble this. We're gonna press down and turn it till it locks. So now it's reassembled. The head is back in place. Now I'm gonna take a piece of string. These are some 12-foot long pre-cut pieces of 095 trim string. It's round. What you wanna do is you have your metal insert here, push it through, lines up, pull this through till we're half and half. So we're gonna take that string, make sure it's even on either side. I was looking at the wrong part to turn on these. As you work on different trimmer heads, they all do a little bit different things. Now this one works like this. So instead of turning the top, I'm gonna turn the bottom. And as I turn this bottom section, which is your bump head, it pulls that string in. So all I'm doing is turning this bottom section. So now our string is inside. What I like to do is make sure that it feeds properly, so I'll push in on the head, pull on the string, and sure enough, it feeds out. So now I know this Ridgid is ready to go trim. I have here the Ryobi 40-volt string trimmer. What I'm gonna do is swap out the factory load of string in here to some string that I'm using for testing, so we're using the same string on all of our tools. So this has right here on the front of it a lock and then arrows. And so right now it's in, this is the lock position, and then I rotate it to here, it's the open position. Very simple to turn that. What I do now is I'm gonna pull the spool out of the housing. It all comes apart. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull off all this old string. And we can go ahead and discard that. What I have here is a 12-foot length of 095 round trim, and I'm gonna go ahead and load this in. In order to load this in, we gotta reassemble our trimmer head. This can only be assembled one way. So this clicks on here, this fits back inside of here, and this all only fits one way. And then what I'm going to do is line up where you have the arrows, push this on, and then turn it. So now, simply turning this locks this head all back together. So you want to make sure that your arrow lines up with your lock, and now it's lined up. So I'm going to take my new string. I have the feed hole here, this metal insert. I'm going to find it, and if we line it up right, we get it clear all the way through. We're going to go ahead and find the center. So we kind of evenly wind this on, and there we are there. I'm going to flip this over. You can see it a little easier. And to load, it's pretty simple. I'm just gonna simply turn the bump head on here. And as I turn this bump head, it kind of has this clicking action. What that's doing is it's pulling in the string and winding it around the spool. And there it is. So now it's wound back in. I like to also test to make sure the bump mode is working, so I'll go ahead and press that in and see that, yep, sure enough, it does feed string back out, so I know that we've loaded it properly and it will extend the string as we need it when we bump the head when we're using it for our testing. So there you have it. There is the Ryobi 40 volt loaded with new string. We have here the Skil 40 volt, and what we're gonna do is swap out the string on this one for some other string so we can do some testing. What we're gonna do first is remove the bottom section. So this one has a tab and a tab on either side. We're gonna push in on one side, we're gonna push in on the other side, and pop this apart. You can see we have our spool. We can just go ahead and unwind this old string. This is the factory load. So now that we've taken the old string off, we're gonna go ahead and discard that. We already have a pre-cut length of some 095 round string. That's why we're using the same string, same length in all of our trimmers so that we're on an even playing field. What I'm gonna do now is reassemble our head, our trimmer head. That's simply making sure that we have this tabs lined up with the bottom. Go like this, make sure that they click in place. And then we want to rotate this to a point where maybe I don't have to. Let's see what happens when we try to pass a string through. Oh, look at that. Came right through. This is an easy load head. Once you have the spool empty, to pull new thread through, you just, once it's all gone, feed it through one side, pull it through till we're even on each side. So next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold the bottom and I'm just gonna twist this top. So this red portion right here, all we're gonna do is take this and give this a twist. And there's our string loaded. Just to make sure that we've done things right, I like to bump the head here, so I'll push it in and pull on the string, and sure enough, it feeds like it's supposed to. So now we know that the string is fed properly in the head and that it will extend it as we use this. So now this Skil trimmer is ready to go. I'm gonna show you how to change out the string on the trimmer head of the Stihl 135R. What we're gonna do is, first thing, pop the bottom off. So there's two tabs, one on each side. I'm gonna press those in. They are a little tight. This is brand new. And pull this off of the bottom. And now we can see our spool. The way this is loaded is we should be able to remove this spool. There it is. Take the spool out, and we're gonna take the string off. What's unique about this one is you have to actually cut the string in half and insert it into these little holes that are up inside of the spool. So let me throw that string away, grab our new string. So I'm gonna find the center point by taking two ends, lining them up, find our middle, which will be here. I'm gonna snip this. So now I have two ends. Next, I'm gonna wind our spool. So in order to wind this, there's only one way to wind it. You want to make sure you twist the string in the right direction. And if you're wondering what direction that is, you can actually see it pretty easily. When you look up inside of the spool, it's actually marked which direction to pull that string. It's also marked here as well. So there's an arrow that's here telling you to wind it this direction. What we're going to do is, up inside, we're going to take the tip of the string and poke it in, and then tip of the string and poke it in the little hole and fold it over. And as we fold it over, we're gonna put some tension on it and pull it tight, like this. And what we wanna do is make sure that we maintain two sets of string. We don't want them to cross over. We wanna make sure they stay in the correct slot. What we can do to load this that makes it a little bit easier is we're going to use this little groove here and click this up into there, like that. And click this one into this space like that. What that does is it lets me let go of it all, doesn't allow the spool to come all undone, and it lets me put this back together properly. So now, once we have it like this, we can take our spool, and this only goes back together in one direction. Put this back in here, easy. And so once we have it in this position, we can go ahead and pop our string into the groove of the insert. So now the string is fed from the spool into the trimmer head. And then when we're done with that, we're gonna simply just snap back on our cover. And just like you heard a really loud, hard snap, it's exactly what we're looking for, because what we wanna make sure is that this is fully engaged and locked back in place. And now the string is installed, and now we're gonna verify its function. So we're gonna push the bump head in as we pull on the string, and sure enough, it does pop out. So we know we've loaded it properly and it's ready to trim. I have here the Toro 60-volt string trimmer. What we're gonna do is swap out the string and put in some new string so we can do some testing. This is the factory loaded string, and gonna go ahead and take this head apart, show you what the spool looks like, and remove this old string. So in order to do that, there's tabs. So there's a tab on this side and a tab on this side of the stringer head, the trimmer head, and we're gonna push those in. Bottom should come off. Once we pull that off, we can see that we have a spool. It looks like it's integrated into, this, so it doesn't come apart. This is actually kind of nice, nothing to lose. So you have your spool here, and then in one piece, and then the rest of the head here. What we're gonna do is, we're just gonna pull this string off. We don't need it. You can go ahead and throw that away. What I've done is I've pre-cut 12-foot long pieces of string for the trimmer, and this is 095, and I'm doing 12-foot lengths so that I'm using the same amount in all of the different trimmers we're gonna be testing and looking at. And what I'm gonna do now, before I load in string, this is supposed to be an easy load head, I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together. There it is. Sometimes you have to wiggle things around a little bit in order for them to snap back together. But we wanna make sure that you do snap it and you hear that click of those tabs locking back in place. So now, the way we load this is like this. There's some marks here that say load. And so what we're looking for is that the line that's on the head matches with the bottom of it, and where it says load, and right here, they line up. What that does is it allows us to have a straight path through in order to pull the string in. There it is. There it is. When you have it properly lined up, you actually see the path of the string. You actually be able to see pretty clearly through the tool to see that you have it properly lined up in order to pass that string through. And I'm gonna even it up so that we make sure that we get approximately even amount of string on each side of the spool. And once we get it to that point, I'm gonna hold the top of the head stationary, and I'm gonna turn the bottom. And what that does is winds in that string. Now, you can only turn it one direction, so you don't have to worry about miswinding it. There you have it. The string is all wound in. What I like to do is make sure that we did it right. So I'm going to bump the bottom, pull on the string, and sure enough, it does extend out like it's supposed to. So this Toro is ready for trimming.